What's going on, everybody? This is Brick MMA, bringing to you my reactions and my thoughts after the events of UFC 317. Now, I know I'm posting this video probably mad late for some of you. Um, Also, before I do start, I do want to say thank you for getting me to 200 subscribers. Um, I only had 70 when I went to sleep, or before UFC 317, and then I don't know, afterwards, that video of Royval versus Van, the news, it's it was very big in Myanmar. So shout out Myanmar, shout out Joshua Van. I'm gonna get to him though. Um, and bro, I looked, like I looked at my YouTube studio. I checked my channel and stuff, and then I saw like I had 108, 108 subs, and then I went to sleep, and then I woke up and I had 225, and it's insane. Thank you all so much. But back to my reaction about the card though. This was like for me, it was such a hard card to watch in general, just because I was out. Um, if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, please do. I'm pretty sure the link is in my bio in my channel description. But I was at a wedding, so I wasn't able to watch some of the card just because of like service issue. Like a lot of like the Wi-Fi was just trash. But that was for some of the earlier fights. I did manage to catch most of the main card. Um, so you know, to speak about the main event, what can I say? What can I say? I know I said I wanted Ilya, or I had Ilya like round three, but that was being very optimistic. Uh, you know, every time I like watching the fight, and then watching the KO, I I I don't know, I couldn't react. I was like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that soldier picture with him just staring into the distance. That was me. That was me. I didn't even like. I just after that turned it off. Just turned it off. I couldn't bear to see it anymore. It was already in like engraved into my mind, and it still is. I can close my eyes and picture it right now. Um, it was so sad to see, because Charles is my goat. He is the reason why I watch the UFC. In all honesty, he is the first name I knew, in the modern era at least, of fighters. Um, and becoming a fan of him has has just been a downward slope. Honestly, the first fight I was watching of his was the Charles versus Islam, and then we know how that turned out. And then we saw him beat Dariush, and then he lost to Armin. Then he beat Chandler, and now this has been his worst fight yet. I think performance wise though, he was very good. He showed up with a solid game plan. It's just his body and his durability is just not the same anymore. I mean, it was never that great to begin with, but um, like I, as much as anybody could have expected Charles to maybe like get the job done in some way, shape, or form, we all knew the holes in his game, right? We all knew Ilya was gonna find his shots eventually. I actually gonna close my window. There we go. Better acoustics. But we all knew the holes in Charles's game. I did like his game plan in the fight. Getting the takedown, or not necessarily a takedown, but getting the fight to the ground. I think he put a lot. No, that's not the right word. Um, he kind of scared Ilya with the ground game. And I think that's like, because we saw that slight glimpse where he didn't want to get back to the ground, which I mean, honestly, I understand. I'm not gonna say like Ilya was absolutely terrified, because Ilya had great moments on the ground. I think passing Charles's guard, getting into side control, and putting Charles in crucifix is fucking insane. I don't think I don't think we've seen anybody do that in years. And it's crazy because that little 20-second exchange, or 10-second, 15-second, whatever time exchange it was, like that short grappling sequence, we haven't seen Charles like that in a long time. And the only time we've seen something like that was when Islam dropped him and then submitted him, which is, it isn't really the same thing, because I feel like there wasn't necessarily a lot of ground game to be had in that fight, except for that like moment. But obviously for Ilya, why take the harder path, right? And that knockout was just fucking insane. After the stand up, Charles was pushing forward like he said he would, and Ilya kind of meeting him in the middle, clashing with him, and then crazy, just crazy, man. I can't even describe it, bro. It feels like I'm saying somebody died. Just fuck, man. I can't. Y'all know what happened, bro. Y'all seen the highlights and shit, man. I can't. And honestly, I don't want to see Charles Oliveira fight anymore. I love Charles to death. I still do. That's still my boy. But I think he should retire. I think he's sustained a lot of damage in his career. It's very obvious that he can't take damage anymore like he used to. He cuts very easily now, and his chin was never that strong, and it's only going to be weaker now. His chin is weak, but it's not glass. Because I've been trying to refrain from trying to say that, because like we've never seen Charles get flatlined like that, like cold KO'd like that. And to polish on Ilya a little bit, Ilya's fucking insane. Like deadass. I think he's already a top 10 pound for pound, skill for skill fighter, bro. Ever. Like I know that sounds kind of crazy, but like I know in terms of maybe career or like resume and accolades, he's not there yet. Or you can argue, bro. I think he's top 15 probably right now, but skill for skill, he's probably one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen. For real. His boxing is just so good. His grappling is just so good. And him moving up to lightweight didn't really seem like too much of a problem for him. I think Charles is probably one of the better matchups for him though, right? Because of Charles's durability. It's like Charles at this point was a glass cannon, coming into this fight, or that's what he was like seen and described as, right? When Ilya was coming in as this fucking like tank, even though he was a smaller fighter, he was just this tank that people were like, once he like all this firepower, he hits you with one, you're gone, bro. And that's what happened. I don't know how I feel about Ilya going to welterweight, because I think that's too big of a jump. And in terms of like weight classes and stuff, you have the people that can go from 1 to 1, and then like they can balance in between the two and stuff. But fighting up another weight class, 2 weight classes up. So all right, first of all, Ilya was a bantamweight starting out in his career. Then he moved up to featherweight, right? And that was great for him. Then now he's moved up to lightweight, and he had some struggle with somebody of Charles's skill level. Again, like I said, Charles's durability played a very big factor into this. And I'm really not trying to take anything away from Ilya. I think it was an amazing performance from him. I think he's a very great fighter. I think he's one of the best fighters in the world. Or he could be the best fighter in the world. And I think if he goes to welterweight, the only fight he should be looking for is Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev isn't gonna be the biggest guy at welterweight for him. If he was to fight somebody like a JDM, that's a very hard fight. That's a very tough fight for him. Cause like we're going, cause now you're going against people that are a lot bigger and stronger than you very naturally, and have somewhat similar skill to you. And sometimes that's all that matters. Sometimes it really is the size that all that matters, as that makes the difference. I mean, sorry. Like who's gonna win versus somebody that's somebody had been training like equally for 10 years. One is like 150, one is like 190. The guy that's 190. And I'm not trying to say JDM is as equally skilled as Ilya. I think he's maybe a little slightly less. But he has the abilities to put up a very good fight. And I really, really, really need to see Ilya versus Islam happen soon. But now moving on to the co-main event of the card. This is one of these where I couldn't necessarily watch. I watched some of it, not all of it. But Pantoja is very close. We're gonna have to start having some uncomfortable conversations with Pantoja. I don't know why he's not loading up, so we're gonna move him back to the regular screen. All right. Oh my god. All right, but yeah. So, very dominant fight from Pantoja over Kai Kara France. Kai really had nothing for Pantoja at all. I didn't get to see the first round, unfortunately. That was because of stream issues. I saw the second and third. In the second round and in the third round, Pantoja had a pretty similar game plan. I think Pantoja is a top 25 fighter. I think this has been a very historic card that we may not realize right now, but when we look back at, we're gonna think, wow, this was crazy. And even now, people are like, this was a very crazy, very good card, in my opinion. And I didn't even get to see like some of the prelims. But Pantoja over Kai Kara France, there was a lot of fears for it, and a lot of people were bringing up like the 35-year-old curse again on Twitter and stuff. And for me, that didn't apply in this fight, just because I feel like Pantoja was still, like, he still showed that he was solid enough in his last fight to perform just as well now. And you know, we all know who the next fight for Pantoja is, right? I'm gonna get to that. But he really does need to get put in top 5 pound for pound. Him being the last ranked champion pound for pound is disgusting. Honestly, genuinely, it's disgusting. He needs to be top 5 minimum, bro. He's over Dreykus. I love Dreykus though. He's over JDM easily over JDM. He has 4 defenses. I think he's the only champ with 4 defenses currently. Oh no, sorry. Oh, I'm fucking stupid, no, bro. Volk has multiple. Well, there's also his second title run, but same shit. You know, and there really isn't much for me. There really isn't much more for me to say, except for like Kai Kara France kind of just got done in easily. He tried to fight it. He tried to fight the choke for as long as he could, but Pantoja is just too good, man. He's just too good. And now, to speak about Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van, guys, I was wrong. I am man enough to admit I was wrong about this one. I severely underestimated Joshua Van. He is so beyond talented for his age, bro. I am fucking jealous. He is only 2 years older than I am. And look where he is and look where I am. Making videos about him. Or making videos about myself. Because this is literally my twin. That's literally my twin. I don't know if all of you have seen me on live stream, but that's literally my twin, bro. Deadass. But Joshua Van, fucking insane fight. I was so scared for Van coming into the fight, and you know, I'm a big fan of both. I was just saying I thought it was too early for Van to come back and fight Brandon Royval, or even for Van to take that large step up in competition, because 12 to like number 12 to number 1, that's a very big jump. But he pulled it off. He pulled it off. He outstruck and outboxed Brandon Royval in 2 out of 3 rounds, even dropping Royval in the third. That's kind of unspoken of, right? I mean, well, not really. Royval's gotten wobbled and hurt and dropped before, but we haven't ever really seen Royval get fucked on in the striking like this. I expected, Royval did what I expected him to do, and Royval could have absolutely done better and could have absolutely won the fight if he had made certain changes to his style. Um, I think he was playing too much tit for tat when he doesn't have the same power as Joshua Van. And Joshua Van was wearing some of the damage that from Royval from his like numerous strikes to the face and body. But man, I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock. I'm making this video like 2 days after. I'm still in shock from this. Right? Um I thought Van won all 3 rounds. Me personally, I thought he even though he got outstruck in the second, he was landing a lot of the heavier shots, and I think that's what mattered the most. Royval was going tit for tat with kind of point hitting, and we know he doesn't really have a lot of sting to some of his punches, especially the ones where he just throws it out just to get it out there and stuff. And I think that backfired against him. Like with Van, he was kind of waiting. He kind of wanted Royval to keep throwing strikes out there so that he could get better reads, and so that he would get more openings. And that's exactly how Joshua Van won the first. And in the second, it was that one was kind of hard fought. Royval was doing a lot better in this one, in the second, I mean. And then in the third, just wow, just back and forth. Like this was an amazing fight, for real. This is one of those fights where you now have to like if you have any casual friends who are like, oh, I want to start watching. What should I watch? That's one of them. But yo, no man, for real. Shout out Joshua Van. There really isn't much for me to say. It was just beautiful performance from him, and for him to be doing that with a broken toe, coming off of a fight last month, like me seeing him last month to do this now is surreal. Like I thought it was fake. I thought it was fucking fake, and I thought he would have had way more struggle with the reach and the height advantage, but I that didn't seem to matter to him at all. He kept it close range. He stayed within the pocket on Royval, and Royval could have thrown definitely more knees. I feel like I think that could have disrupted a lot of Joshua Van's style. But you know what? Royval also tried to do a lot of body kicks and leg kicks and such with the at range, and that was working somewhat. It was working well, like when he was on the outside, but his style and who he is, he likes to be in that chaos and such. So he kind of threw away a solid game plan at some moments throughout the fight. But yeah, man, for real, shout out Van, shout out Myanmar, shout out for real though, shout out Myanmar, guys. Y'all have been my biggest supporters, for real. Y'all blew my video up. I'm so appreciative of y'all. I love y'all so much, man. For the next fight in the card, we had Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. I didn't see the first round. Again, guys, I swear I really had so much stream issues with like the service, like with being majority of the cause of it. But This fight wasn't all that crazy. I did have Beneil, so I'm happy he got the win. I think he needed a win as well for his career's sake. Um, he got dropped in the first round, which was a little surprising for me to hear because I didn't think Moicano had that much power in his hands to do so. Um, I seen what DJ said about it after I made my video. He was like, it's kind of just a trauma response thing to go like to shut out to like shut your own lights out. I'm glad Dariush has recovered from that, right? And I kind of expected it. I said what was gonna happen. I thought Dariush was gonna be able to out grapple Moicano, and Moicano lost some steam throughout the fight. He started kind of hot, and then he kind of just in that second and third round, Dariush just came out with a better game plan, keeping it close, keeping it in the grappling, and just controlling him for the rest of the fight. Nothing much had happened after the first round though. So shout out Dariush for the win. It was a much very needed win. It was a very much needed win for himself, and I hope to see Moicano come back. I also hope to see Brennan Royval come back. I really hope he doesn't move to bantamweight. I think he's an amazing flyweight. I think he should stay at flyweight. I think there's more challenges for him there. Still, and I think it's even better for him that he lost because now we get different matchups, right? Like who knows? He if he drops down to like maybe like fourth, no, he probably wouldn't drop down to fourth. He'd probably drop to second. He'd probably drop to second, and maybe he'd fight. I don't know anybody else. Manel Kape again, and after that performance, I think Manel Kape. I don't know how I feel about that, man. That wasn't. I don't know. And Royval was off a full camp too, full 8 week. Damn, man. Fuck. This could be the downfall. This could be the start of it all. Ah. All right, moving on to Payne Talbot versus Felipe Lima. I had Felipe Lima winning the fight. This was unfortunately one of those I did not watch like at all. Anytime I try to watch, the stream was frozen. Or I mean, my ESPN was frozen. One more time, my ESPN was frozen, and it just wasn't letting me watch the fight for like consecutive anything. It would just turn on, and it was like the one moment, maybe like 10-second clip or 10 seconds of the round, and then freeze again, and then I just ended up turning it off and having to like maybe look. I had to go somewhere else. So shout out Payne Talbot though. This was a very much needed win for himself as well, over a very solid prospect in Felipe Lima. That's a very impressive win. From like the very small glimpses I saw Felipe Lima taking his back and stuff, and for Payne Talbot to still get the win with like showing the improvement in his grappling over like a very hot young prospect like Felipe Lima. And I think this kind of begs the question, how good is Barcelos right now? Does Barcelos deserve to be in the rankings? I think so. I think he should get a ranked opponent next. And I think for Payne Talbot, he's one off another. I think even after losing to Barcelos, he is just one off of a ranked opportunity. Payne Talbot is still that good, apparently, right? And I feel like he should fight somebody fun. Maybe somebody like Cody Garbrandt. I think that's a very fun fight for him. Or, you know what? I want Payne Talbot versus Montel Jackson like now. Give that to him next. I don't like how Montel Jackson is just in the rankings and he fights once a year. I think that's stupid. I hate shit like that. I hate fighters that fight once a year with no injury. Like that shit pisses me off. I hate fight like when Alex Perez was gone for a long time. I fucking hated him. He was gone for 2 years. Didn't fight nobody. Just held his fucking spot in the top 8 of flyweight. And then when he came back, he was extremely active, and I loved that. I loved him. And, he suffered some injury now, so I can't speak too bad about him no more. And I think he has a fight sign with Steve Erceg next. That's gonna be interesting fight. Interesting fight. But shout out Payne Talbot. Shout out Felipe Lima. I'm pretty sure it was a great fight. I'm sad to say that I missed it, and I really hope I can catch both of their next fights without any trouble. All right. I'm gonna say this now. This three, these 3 rows of fighters right here, I missed the fights. I was very surprised to see this notification come up on my phone from ESPN. I was kind of sure Hyder and Mill would have maybe used some of that crafty vet experience, but from what Streets was telling me, Delgado landed a knee that hurt Emil, and then he was landing some strikes for ground and pound, and then the ref stepped in, and then what I'm saying, I think Streets said Emil came in very hot, and then he got caught by Delgado. So shout out Delgado, and hopefully I can catch your next fight, because I still want to be able to gauge how good you are, and where I can see you at, and y'all know me, man. I'm not really a hater of sorts. Like a lot of creators are kind of, a lot of them just rage bait and hate. I don't like to do that. I like to be very unbiased, and when making these predictions, even though even if I may or may not like the other fighter, I try to be realistic and what's gonna happen with the scenarios and such. But yeah. Also Jack Hermanson versus RoboCop. I kind of skipped over that because I thought Delgado was probably the more insane KO just because of how short it was in the fight versus an undefeated fighter. And then RoboCop, like I said, I missed this one as well. Very unfortunate, but I did choose RoboCop, right? Some people were saying Jack was underrated and such. And he's solid, but he kind of cut up RoboCop early. I had seen that. And then RoboCop just fucking one-tapped him. One-tap slept him. And you know what, bro? I kind of forget, like, shout out RoboCop, man. I think now he's in the top 10 of middleweight. And I think that's also a very good position for him to be in. This gives him a lot of interesting matchups. I think the better matchups for him are still, he could fight Marvin Vettori, right? I think he can fight Marvin Vettori. I think that's a very interesting fight for him right now. I think it's a very winnable fight as well. So you know what? I like I said, I can't really say too much about him. Shout out RoboCop. This puts him on good pace again after his loss to Canadier. And just gotta speak about my girl Tracy. Oh my god, I missed all the prelims, which actually pisses me off. I'm realizing that now. I missed all of the prelims. So I'm gonna just kind of speed run through it. I don't want to like just yap on to like just hit like a quota or whatever. Shout out Tracy. I saw very minimal glimpses and stuff where she was trying to control Araujo with her grappling, and I'm assuming that's just majority of what happened in the fight. Tracy was number 10, Araujo was number 8. It's nice to see Tracy get back on track again. A lot of this fight card is fighters getting back on track, right? Like Tracy, RoboCop, Terrence McKinney. These are fighters that like suffered from losses recently, that people would have thought would like fuck up their career. But great show of resilience from all of them, from all the fighters that I've mentioned. Specifically Tracy. Love me Tracy, man. Love me some Tracy, man. But yeah. So shout out Tracy. Shout out to Terrence McKinney. I did expect Terrence to win. I did choose him to win. I thought it probably would have been more by knockout, but he got a guillotine choke. I did see the highlight for that. Like I said, I thought Borshev has some slight finishing potential, and just having that slight amount of it is scary when you want to choose somebody like Terrence McKinney. But I did choose Terrence because I didn't like Borshev's resume of quality fighters. I didn't think he would have been up to the challenge to really give McKinney struggle in a longer fight. My worry was just that he could find some way to land a big shot and then put him out. And yeah, that's just obviously not what happened. Moving on to the early prelims, though, Nico Price versus Jacoby Smith. Shout out Jacoby Smith for getting the submission win over Nico Price. Um, Obviously, it seems like that's what he should have did anyway, because he was minus 2,100 odds over Nico Price. But I like Jacoby. I think his wrestling is very, very, very clean, right? I think he's still very green. I think he still needs to be taken slowly, right? Just put it in slow and easy, nice and slow, right? Like you gotta lube him up, right? No weird shit. You gotta lube him up a little bit before you get him into the upper echelon of fighters. You gotta give him the Bo Nickel route, to be honest. That's just what it is. And then for Jonata Denise versus Alvin Hines, shout out to Alvin Hines, man. 34 years old, 4 years of training, and putting on a solid performance in the UFC in the highest tier of all fighting combat. Jonata Denise he did good, but I think he could have probably, and maybe I don't want to say finished, because Alvin Hines was obviously very durable, took a lot of good shots and was still coming, and had very, very, honestly, very solid cardio. Both of these heavyweights kind of looked very in shape compared to the rest of them. Good physique, good cardio. They put on a very solid pace of strikes with grappling being mixed in from Hines, and Denise still being able to sprawl or defend the takedowns. It was a solid performance from both. I had it Denise easily 30-27, though. We did a lot of damage. And yeah, honestly though, I would like to see Alvin Hines get signed for heavyweight. I think he is a good fighter to just kind of throw in there. Sometimes you don't always need highly skilled fighters. Like, you don't need to wait out people that are already in contracts with PFL or One or Ryzen and stuff. Sometimes you need to find people that are just willing to bring the fight, and sometimes those people are just enough to keep entertainment value, to keep the company true to its values and talent as well. And yeah, so that was my reaction to UFC 317. Like, comment, subscribe, and again, thank you all so much for 200 subscribers. I was planning on making a thank you post for 100, and then I woke up to 200, and I swear to God, I thought I was still dreaming, man. It's insane. And it's crazy to think, I'm getting goosebumps right now. It's crazy to think that it may be like a few months time, or if I get lucky again, I could hit 1,000 by next year. And that would be just dream come true. I don't need to be the biggest YouTuber in the world. I don't need to be the biggest MMA YouTuber in the world. I just love talking about MMA. I feel like this is always this is for the people that don't really have a lot of friends that are too into it as you are. I got my friends into it, which is cool and all, but how do I say it? What's the word for it? They're pretty casual with it. Like, they don't really keep up with as much news, or they're not in tune with like a lot of the prelim fighters or early prelim fighters. And maybe I'm not like super hardcore either. I'm not trying to say that, but I am more in tune with it. I do keep track of these things. I am more interested by it. And yeah. For real though, again, I can't say it enough. Shout out y'all, man. I appreciate y'all so much. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down below.